Hi students! Today we're going to be talking about the basics of typing and starting to think about how we can get faster. It's really important that you are able to type well. You may have already noticed that your classwork is difficult if your typing is slowed down, and this will be true all the way through college. Most schools and universities will require typing and online work, so this is a skill that we need to master. Today we have three main objectives. First, we'll learn about the history of the QWERTY keyboard and why your keys are set up in such a strange order. Then, we'll talk about where your fingers should go as you type in order to maximize your speed. Finally, we'll take a typing diagnostic test in order to figure out how fast we're typing. In order to get better, we have to know where we're starting. First, why is your keyboard set up the way that it is?
Ever wonder why your keyboard looks like this and not like this? The answer has a lot to do with this. QWERTY's creators never typed out exactly what they were thinking, and although not everyone agrees, this is why most experts believe the keyboard is laid out the way it is. The first typewriters had keyboards of all shapes and sizes, but inventors soon learned they needed to stagger the keys to stop them from getting stuck together. In 1867, newspaper editor Christopher Latham Sholes was working on one early version. His first keyboard had the second half of the alphabet on top and the first half on the bottom, but the keys were still getting jammed. Letters often used consecutively would get stuck together if they were next to each other on the keyboard, so he devised a new layout, separating the most common pairings of letters. Early typewriters left out the 1 and 0 keys. People used lowercase l's and capital O's instead. A few years later, E. Remington and Sons, a weapons manufacturer, was looking for a new way to rake in some cash after the end of the Civil War. So, they turned from rifles to typewriters. Remington entered into an agreement with Sholes and switched up the layout just a bit. They swapped the R and period, leaving QWERTY. Slowly, keyboard manufacturers began adding the 1 and 0 keys, but it didn't become standardized until roughly 100 years later in the 1970s. Today's keyboards have that same staggered layout, even though the technical limitations of the typewriter are long behind us. Clearly, we're no longer concerned with getting keys stuck together, but QWERTY stuck around.
Next, let's talk about where your fingers should be positioned on your keyboard as you type.
Hey Knights, when you're looking at your keyboard, your fingers should always be resting on what is called the home row. Home row is this one in the middle that begins with A and runs through to L. You'll find that there are little ridges or bumps on the F and J key. That is where your index or pointer finger should be. The rest of your fingers should be spaced out like this, and your fingers should always come back to the home row as you type. These fingers will go up, this one goes up, or they go down. Your thumb stays on the space bar. You can use that then to type much more quickly, but your fingers always come back to the home row.
Now, it's time to test our speed. Your teacher will post a link that will take you to a typing diagnostic test. This will measure how many words per minute you are able to type. Make sure to write down your score. We want to keep track of this over time. Have a great day and happy typing!